welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for your patience. But, Carlo, we have an exceptional panel that is worth waiting for. Ladies and gentlemen, we have here on the floor Henri, Director General for Mobility and Transport of the European Commission.
And we will have later on Ralf Schweisberg from the General Federal Ministry of Transport and Digital Infrastructure.
Yes, and Henri Poupart Lafarge will join us in a minute, Chair of UNIFI and CEO of Alstom.
And we have connected with us Umberto Guida, Senior Director of Knowledge and Innovation of UITP. Welcome, Umberto.
Good morning, Mr. Guido. We are waiting for Juan Melendez, Director General of SATE.
And we have with us Libor Lokman, the Executive Director of CER. Thank you.
Morning.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us. And how are we going to do this, Carlo? I propose that each of the panel members will take like 5 minutes, a few minutes, to highlight the most important challenges and opportunities for rail, also after the COVID-19 crisis, and what they want to achieve next year during the European Year of Rail that will coincide also with the launch of the successor of the Shift2Rail program, now called Europe's Rail Joint Undertaking. And afterwards, dear audience, you can ask your questions to the panel, so please do, and use that unique opportunity. You can use Slido for that. You go to slido.com and you use the hashtag S2R_enough-days. Okay, and we have also always questions left,
Always.
Carlo. Let's start. Perhaps we could start with...
Enrico Rolei. Mr. Rolei, would you like to start with your statement, maybe?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Carlo, and good morning to everyone also on the other side of the screen. Needless to say how much I would have enjoyed seeing you in person in a nice big auditorium where we could have a very lively discussion, but at the same time, I'm happy that I am here together with good colleagues, and we are able at least to come together. Now, having said that, I think, which was also somewhat spiced with frustration of what has happening around us, I think that one also understands very well what are we facing today on top of everything else. And of course, this is the COVID crisis, and obviously the situation in Europe over the last weeks has become even more challenging. And of course, it affects also very much the way people move. This crisis is very different from the one we experienced 10 years ago when we had the financial crisis, which turned over to economic crisis, which was a structural issue and affecting actually all the sectors of the economy in a general way. Nobody was really left out. While today we have a very different kind of crisis, and the fact is that there are sectors which are booming and doing extremely well. And then there are those sectors which are basically wiped out, or let's say where the economic activity has come to halt. And unfortunately, when we look, travel, tourism, transport, rail, of course, is very, very much affected. And people don't dare to cross borders. Well, they don't only dare because the patchwork that the member states have created with all the different regimes and unwillingness to find a common European approach is affecting very much. But this means, of course, that it will also affect the market. It will affect the companies. We have already seen that in particular those new entrants that we had in the past and which really brought a lot of, I would say, oxygen and competition in the sector have been struggling a lot. And this is going to continue. I think the very, very important issue is also how to maintain the viability of the sector, which in a way now has been put in the center for European economic activity. And everybody's saying, as part of the European Green Deal, we need more rail. Of course we need more rail. But at the same time, we are also seeing the challenge that is there. And these challenges which we are currently facing because of the pandemic, they are on top of the old challenges we had. And again, we cannot talk about this sector being able to fully reap the benefits that it can bring if we are not going to do more on the market opening. If only 5% of the rail traffic is cross-border in terms of passengers, then something has to change. Yeah. I would use the word deregulation a lot, because if we really want rail to play a huge role, then we need to move to that direction. I'm happy to see that we are also doing pan-European things. The European Union Agency for Railways is becoming also a much more pan-European player in terms of the authorizations, and that helps. And I think that everything that we also do when it comes to the science, when it comes to the innovation, what Shift2Rail is going to do also tomorrow, has to be geared in order to support that vision, in order to support rail becoming more competitive, more pan-European, more efficient and cheaper.
Yeah, that was very passionate. I understand that we have the old and the new challenges, but perhaps we could think out of the box in this way. We can speed up also. Perhaps the next opening statement is for you.
Oh, thank you, thank you. And I would just, second even Henri, what he said. And I would start from his last words, the competition and the competitiveness, because this is indeed the key. I mean, we need to be, as the railway, more competitive on the market, because we definitely would wish to provide the services to the citizens of the European Union, to the society, in a way that is competitive, but it is also green and sustainable. And here I would definitely, if you have something that we need to promote even more than ever, it's the zero-emission mobility that can be provided through rail. Yeah. This is the factor that, of course, needs to be connected with the Green Deal, but especially with what I'm hoping that we are going to see also from the EU strategy for smart and sustainable mobility to be launched in December, right, Henri? And that the railway will really be seen as the backbone of that mobility. We, of course, have a number of steps to go ahead to reach that target. I fully agree with what you said, Henrik, about the factor that we should be much more stronger, much more competitive on the cross-border services for passengers. Mm-hmm. But I would not stop in the passengers, because our, I would say, expectation is that we'll be also much stronger on the market on the rail freight.
Freight, of course.
You probably know, I mean, at least a number of you, about this initiative Rail Freight Forward, which aims at reaching 30% of the market share by 2030. And if you want to be there, we have to do a lot on the side of the member states, on the side of the regulatory framework, on the side, of course, the own initiatives of the sector, which is then linked with Carlo, because we will need a lot of the innovative, I would say, technologies that can lead us to there, that can lead us to the processes that would provide the better services, automated services, more competitive services, more efficient services, services that will be attractive for the customers.
If you want to reach 30%, you have to.
It's a lot, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's a doubling of today's volumes, so it's a lot what we have to do. By the way, we have also the doubling of the volumes on the passenger side, I think, because this is also in our perspective that we want to be. We want to be, doubling the market share on the side of the passenger services by 2030. So we have a huge expectations. We also expect that the current crisis, which is of course not good, but honestly, there was a positive signal. You mentioned that we have the drop of the ridership. This is all true because of this mess created by the different measures on the state here and there. But at least what we have achieved on the freight side, we have been able to serve this, again the economy by transporting various types of goods, including the consumer goods. And we have served, the commuters and on a personal perspective, the essential workers. So also the passenger services have been saving the economy or helping the economy.
No, yes.
So that's what we have done through the crisis, and we expect that now it will be somehow shifted in the connection with this green and zero mobility, right? Replacing at least what number of the member states wish to have, short-haul flights by the rail.
Yeah, and you expect a lot from Carlo and innovation, Carlo. I can see that in the meantime, Henri Poupart Lafarge has joined us and Juan Melendez as well. Good morning, gentlemen. Perhaps the next statement is for Juan Melendez.
Hello, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Well, my statement, I think there are opportunities and challenges. Sorry, and the thing is that we have to, as Mr. Lockman had commented, we have to be more competitive, especially in two areas. Perhaps the most important one, in my opinion, is the freight transportation and logistics, where we have important challenges with regard to technology. The agile and reliable handling of goods between the different stakeholders, and also, for example, the noise reduction, and also, of course, the cost reductions. I think, in my opinion, those are the more important part with regard to freight transportation. And on the other hand, with regard to infrastructure, we should reduce the cost. And we have technology that we could bring from other sectors, digitalization, smart maintenance, virtual twins that provide information with good physical models, and also additive manufacturing. I think we could lead the transformation and reduce the cost of this sector.
Okay, thank you very much. I've seen also Umberto Guida. Perhaps we can go to Umberto Guida for his statement. Good morning, Umberto.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I have just an echo back on.
We can see and hear you well.
Okay, thank you. So if I can, let's say, elaborate more on what I would add two main points, which are more, let's say, the big challenges that we see for the urban rail in particular, what has been done. Coming also from the experience of the last period. I mean, the coronavirus has been quite touching. It was mentioned by part of this business of urban rail in terms of as going to reduce in terms of demand. But the other challenges that we have related to decarbonization, cost efficiency will remain. So this is what can be transformed in an opportunity. In terms of when we go to climate issues, when we go to zero emission, urban rail is probably clean since, I would say, decades. I remember an old Congress of 1876 organized in Berlin. The session was in comparison between horsepower at the tram and electric power at the tram in terms of cost of maintenance. If we see this, then it means that the limitation is widely spread in the rail. And make urban rail backbone like road cell of mobility in when we go there to the next program, what we need are, I think, to consider. One is the we have different definitions of we have different of rail. So we have to
Umberto?
Yeah. And the second is integration.
We have a very bad connection, Umberto. Do you hear me? We have a bad connection, so I come back to you later, because I have a very bad connection with you. We come back, we see you in a minute. We come back to you in a minute. Okay, we go move on to Henri Poupart Lafarge. I think he's there as well. Good morning, Henri Poupart Lafarge. Good morning.
Yes, good morning. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we hear you very loud and clear.
But I've got an echo.
Okay.
Yes,
Maybe.
we can hear you, so you can give your statement on the question.
Okay. So good morning, everybody, dear Mr. Hollolay, Mr. Fassenberg, dear colleagues. I have to say that it's a great honor to be with you today, and it's also a great pleasure. We have started Shift2Rail 10 years ago, and it's a personal pleasure because it was during my first mandate as a chairman of the UNIFE, and I think there's been a great effort from everybody, from all stakeholders, from the European Commission, and I think we can say that there are more than 500 stakeholders who have contributed to this first Shift2Rail, and we have succeeded in bringing to the market a number of key innovations. And you know that we are fully embracing, of course, the goal which has been repeated of the Commission for the zero greenhouse gas emissions for rail transport, for the mobility in general, and of course for rail transportation as well. We need to continue to work on all these topics. So I think that the main subject is how to speed up this Shift2Rail, how to launch this Shift2Rail 2 at a greater scale in order to deliver all the new technologies which are required by the industry to fulfill the ambition of the Commission. And that, just to name a few of them, we can talk about the vehicle to infrastructure technology, the on-demand mobility solutions, fully interoperable network, the intercity connection, safe and healthy transportation systems. A number of projects which really require all of us to increase the momentum on Shift2Rail and to have this Shift2Rail 2 well, I would say, well equipped with a sufficient amount of funds. As you know, we are asking for 1.5 billion euros to fund the Shift2Rail 2. Secondly, I would say not only we want to fulfill the ambition of the Commission in terms of zero emission mobility sector, but we have also a role to play for the European industry, for the export market. The European industry, as you know, is leading the world industry. We really need to make sure that this industry remain extremely competitive, be able to export on the different markets worldwide. So that's my two, I would say, my two messages to for the ambition of the Commission, and second one on the global ambition of the industry to remain at the leading edge of the global industry in the world.
Okay, thank you very much, Carlo. I hear a lot about the need for more innovation, a greater engagement. We need all the stakeholders around the table. We need more community engagement. That's a lot to deal with.
Yes, this is the objective of also the successor program of Shift2Rail. Maybe we can continue with Eric as we started with you, Eric. We talked about the crisis, and we know that the impact of the crisis, but as you said, is completely different from the previous one. Which are your expectations in terms of evolution of the mobility and transport in the next, in 2021? It will be also the European Year of Rail. And what you would like to see coming out from our work at the end?
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think it is a very, very good question. Before I reply, I just want to amplify one thing what Libor said earlier about the rail freight. And I also want to say that this is also, he put the finger also in the right place, because the rail freight has been something which we used as an indicator also, as a success of the rail sector to play a bigger role. And I think now it is the moment also to do something about it, because I think we have also learned something from the crisis, and we have seen that when we have got able to better manage the track access as well, then freight can actually deliver more. And that leads me also to the next point, and that's why I made this intro, which is partly a response to you as well, Carlo, which is that we need to look at the transport system of tomorrow. And tomorrow, I mean already, let's say, from next year onwards, but basically already from yesterday, we need to see it as a multimodal system. And rail needs also to better integrate with the other transport modes, as the other transport nodes need to better integrate with rail.
How should we do that?
That would be something which would help both passengers, but in particular rail freight. Now, how do we do it? Here I'm looking at Carlo, because for me, multimodality and digitalization and smart solutions are the two sides of the same coin. Multimodality has become very much a topic today simply because through the digital solutions, we are in a better position also to bring the different modes together. And I think that this is also something that needs to be looked through the innovation and through the support to the smart mobility. What is the mobility of the future, or what is the mobility of tomorrow? The mobility of tomorrow has to take into account, I think, 4 key principles. We all know that with the Green Deal, we have the fact that mobility and transport has to become more sustainable. We know that rail is sustainable, but even in rail, there is still a possibility to go one step further. Secondly, it is about smart mobility, digitalization. So that is also something where rail has a huge possibility, because, let's be honest, compared to some other transport modes, rail has been in the past less being able to benefit or to internalize the digital solutions. And I think here a lot is there. Thirdly, we have the issue about the functioning single market of the European Union. We don't have a single European rail area. We don't have a single European transport area. I know today somehow we are talking less about the internal market as in the past. Dear friends, this is not for granted. We have seen that. Freedom is also not for granted. We have to constantly work on this, and the same goes about the internal market. We cannot leave that behind and talk about other issues because they are perhaps more topical. This is the backbone, and this is also for the functioning of rail and other transport modes together. And the last is, of course, what the crisis has brought us. And this is the new concept, where you have the headline, but you don't necessarily have yet all, let's say, the definition of it, and that's the resilience. Our whole transport system has to become more resilient. Rail also has to become more resilient. Resilient to what? Resilient to shocks, resilient to fluctuations, to the events, but it's also about health resilience and many other things which I think we are currently working on. I think this is a combination of things that we would need to see in the next years when we also want rail to fully utilize it and play a bigger role. And last but not least, European Year of Rail. Fantastic opportunity to use it and to promote it, to look at the solutions, to show what rail can do. I think many people, most people, have no idea what the rail can do. Most people have even no idea how innovative, future-oriented, and high-tech rail is. So let's use these opportunities. Let's bring it also to the wider scale, to the people. Okay. And let's make this year a success together.
Okay, 4 very clear pillars that is for you, for the next successor of Shift2Rail. Perhaps the next question?
Libor, because Shift2Rail successor is, well, in Brussels we are only a few people, but we rely on the amazing work that the operating community is doing, and you represent it here. In the first Shift2Rail, effectively, you are not so much represented, and this has been maybe an issue. Now, as Eric said, we are looking at a system approach, we are looking at a multimodal approach. How you see the involvement of the rail operating community in the successful program of Shift2Rail? Which are your expectations from this work that will be starting in 2021?
I mean, I can just, continue what you said. You have an expectation, we do have an expectation that the rail operating community, both from the perspective of infrastructure managers and as well the railway undertakings, will be much more engaged than it's under the current program of the Shift2Rail. No doubt about it. And the reason it's precisely what we are discussing here now, because we need to roll on the new system perspective. So really to innovate the system in entirety, and having the system as rail as a system integrated in the multimodal transportation. And for that, it's of course very important that we have the industrial technology developed, but we need to have the expectations of the users connected with this as well. Yeah. And this will be the users, like users of the technology, but for us, and this is what we work heavily as well, is the communication with the customers. Mm-hmm. So it's not us as the operators who are somehow, the customers of the system. It's the final customer, whether the logistic companies, the shippers on the side of the freight, or the passengers. We have to work, in a way that we will satisfy their expectation, and for that reason, the future joint undertaking needs to combine both views of what the operators need to deliver for the customers and what can be the right technology supplied by industry for that. So I can only say, yes, we have some lessons learned from the first Shift2Rail, where our engagement was not as high as it should have been. Mm-hmm. But now we have the way forward, definitely.
Can I go ahead with another question? Because I think the one thing is the balance in terms of supply industry, operating community research. Another is geographical balance. And we know that is extremely, at the moment, we are not so good in this. Maybe. And as Eric said just before, we are looking at the single market. And single market meaning a European network that is connecting all the countries. Which are the actions that, in your opinion, we should put in place to better integrate the country not today represented in the activities? How you think we should tackle these aspects, and how it will help us to maximize the benefit of the investment.
You are really asking very, very sensitive and difficult, diplomatically sensitive questions, yeah. I have to say. No, I admit that this is what we observed in the first Shift2Rail, and this is somehow continuing also from what we observe in the applications for the founding membership and in the Shift2Rail or continuation of the new joint undertaking. I'm fully aware of that. The point is that and I don't wish to be less diplomatic than I should be, but it's still the whole, I would say, concept seems to be, somehow Brussels-centric. Yeah. And to be honest, we will probably need to have some antennas, stretching towards the Central Eastern, even the Europe, in the northeast. I mean, the Baltic states are not any exception. We do not have the representation over there because, we don't have enough information, enough understanding what are going to be the benefits of being engaged right from the beginning, and not what and quite a number of people do see. I mean, that let's them to develop what needs to be developed, and then we will then decide whether we buy it or not. Mm-hmm. Most important is that we get the financing. And sorry to be so blunt, but this is how it usually works. The money the first, and then we will see, what can we buy out of that. So what we need is the change of mind in those countries. So having an engagement right from the beginning, so that the system can be served, with regards to the development of the innovations, from the start, and not when it's been developed and then it's more or less, rolling as the wave from west to east.
You have to know what you want.
Exactly.
It has to be bottom up.
You have to be engaged in that, and that's why we also talk about the system pillar, the multimodality, which needs to be, covering the interest of all the regions of Europe.
Yeah. Okay, I can see there is a question. Yeah, sure.
Because I think that, again, Libor made a very important observation here. And that's also the mindset question. I mean, for a number of European countries, rail has been considered as a local thing. Mm. And they have not seen rail as the integrator with the rest of Europe. And this is also something that needs to be changed with the rail corridors, with the better connections, with the fact that Europe should be entirely connected with the rail. That's why we also give the money. That's why we work on the trans-European networks. That's why we want to have these corridors there. And rail has to be also seen not a local thing or a national thing, but the European thing. And that also would then engage more countries to think along on the European level, because today it is just a few who are there in a more central place and who always have a rail as a connector. But here we actually need more come together and see it really as a single European rail area where whole Europe can be connected with rail. This is a big challenge.
Otherwise it wouldn't be possible. That's what you said, Carlo, as well. I think Juan wants to react to this as well. Juan. Your mic is muted. Can you put on your mic? Juan, can you put on your mic? Your mic is muted. Juan, your mic is muted. No, he cannot hear us.
He cannot hear us,
yeah.
So we will continue with...
We have to do some work on the digitalization. It was your second pillar, I think, Henri. Yeah. Okay. But I can see...
This is connectivity.
That's the connectivity. Yes. So it will be difficult. But I can see there is a question from the audience. So how to position rail sector as an attractive employer for young talents. So sustainable green transport is not enough. Rail should attract more digital talents. Carlo, we are asking it. Yeah, I think so.
This is in our heart, you can imagine. Because we know very well that without the skilled employees, we will not be able to make this transformation to the automated system. And I mean really the system in an entirety. So for that reason, we work closely with our colleagues from the trade unions throughout the various projects run together with the European Federation of the Trade Unions here in Brussels, but also in the member states, so that we really try to connect it. We have a project on analyzing the impacts of the digitalization automation that is ongoing. And we are also, and this is run, by the way, also together with the industry, we are going to roll on the new project, really analyzing or checking, what could be the possibilities for the better training, again, with respect to the skills, with respect to what the future of the automated railway should bring us.
Better skills for the people who are there, but also new talents. There's a
both
war of talent.
Of course, I mean, especially as the question says, the young people, because we need to be attractive. So
and how are you going to be an attractive employee for young digital talents?
I mean, first, of course, we have to automate, so we have to digitalize the railway, because you can only attract the new people if you have the technology that is attractive for the people. That's so obvious. So again, we have this connection from both the regulatory perspective, also the innovation pillar that we need to have engaged in it.
Henri?
Absolutely.
Henri?
On top of that, I would also say, or I would rather reinforce what I also said earlier, which is that the European Year of Rail is an opportunity also to popularize rail and to make people understand how high-tech it is. And when I think about it, I mean, hackathons, for example. I remember last year when we had the last Innotrans, so sad that it didn't happen this year, but and the hackathon there, I was there to open it. It had so many people with digital talents, eyes were sort of really sparkling, they were so interested.
Vibration.
And there's like, rail can be digital. And that's also what you're doing in the Shift2Rail. You have to come out and say, look, the rail is actually about digital. It's also a perception issue. For many, perception is rail is something, old-fashioned. Not at all. When you look at the high speed, when you look at the solutions that we have in Europe, this is top state of the art. But it's just something that is not yet seen attractive. I think that using that image, turning around also the way you see rail, you get more young people who have digital talents also to come there, do more of the hackathons, try to sort of create some kind of vibe together with CR, together with UNIFED, together with everybody else to show, look, that's the way forward. We have now focused, European Commission is also focused on the digitalization, smart solutions. This is exactly what is needed. Smart and rail together. What can be better?
Yeah, but that's precisely, if you allow me, this is what should the Euro rail be about. So communicating towards the broader public about, how the rail is innovative.
We should tell everybody about it, that we should be blunt. We should say we are innovative, we are state-of-the-art, top of the top. Carlo, he is really, they are both passionate, but I can see that Umberto is waiting as well. Umberto, you are back.
Umberto, which are your expectations for... we don't hear Umberto.
Umberto, you're muted. You should turn on the mic. Turn on the mic. No, we cannot hear you. Just try again, and then the question is the expectations, Carlo?
Because Umberto is representing the UITP, the Urban Operating Community. They were not part of Shift2Rail in the first round, and they are essential component because they represent an interface with the main line.
Absolutely.
And really, there is, as Eric said, smart mobility comes if we bring together all the sector together.
So this is the moment, in fact.
Yes.
Umberto. No, we cannot hear you.
No, we cannot hear Umberto.
Just one.
He has a small problem about the digital aspect
this
of
connectivity,
the evolution.
this will be the biggest problem that
it's a
we
hard
have.
connectivity, but it's also the soft one
But
here.
maybe we can also look at another aspect that is quite important in this respect, because one thing is the operating community, the other aspect is the competitiveness of the European industry. I don't know if Henri is still online. Otherwise, in this case, maybe, Eric, one of the things we have, and we are aware of...
Yes, Henri
is here. Henri, do you hear us?
Can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay,
Can
great.
you hear me?
Yes, absolutely. So we'll ask you a question. I wanted to ask you, well, you are, as you mentioned yourself, you have been part of the setup of the Shift2Rail at the beginning. And now, which are your expectations in the new generation? And we know that one of the key challenge we'll have in front of us is the increasing competitiveness from outside Europe. So how Shift2Rail successor program and Shift2Rail can create a major positioning of the European industry in the world?
Yes, thank you. First of all, I would like to come back on the previous conversation just to mention that we have launched at UNIFE level a communication program called Hop On to attract the talents for the railway. And we have just launched that yesterday, actually. But of course, we will welcome any participants to this communication campaign, because I fully agree with what has been said in terms of attractiveness of the railway sector, which is there but not yet known enough. Coming back now to your question, definitively, Shift2Rail has been a great success, we have to say, and it has been fulfilling more than expected our vision. But now it's clear that the competition worldwide significantly, with, as you know, CRT being there, but also players being there, players being there. So there's huge competition, and at the same time, an increasing demand of to keep up the speed with the competition. So I would expect is not only to do so as we've done so far of subsystems, but also to be there to experiment some new technology which is always kind of bodies around the table. If we want to change the market, future technology, whether we talk about digital technologies, or with all the evolution of train-to-train communications, the trains, or we talk about connections, and why not distributing a number of systems. I think we need to continuous evolution, which so to experiment more innovative.
Good, thank you very much. We leave it there because the connection isn't that good as well, but I understand that we need to experiment as well.
Yes.
We go back to Umberto.
If he's there.
Umberto, we are going to try it again. Umberto?
Maybe in the same time, Eric, if you want to approach from the Commission point of view, the competitiveness of the European industry and the risk in terms of outside competitiveness. I think we have a strong European industry. This has been proved in the leadership of ERTMS around the world also. But still, we are, as you said before, for the single market, is a continued process.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, Europe has been always the world leader when it comes to the innovative solutions in rail, be it the rolling stock or be it the rail components or be it the signaling systems. And for that, for me at least, the external exposure and also promoting the European solutions and European products around the world is absolute must. I also see this as a must for the work of the Commission, and that's what also I have been doing together with my colleagues in many parts of the world, when we are also establishing transport dialogues with third countries. Then we always make sure that the rail topics are also covered, and at the same time we also use it in order to promote, for example, our rail safety, our ERTMS solution, but at the same time, of course, I mean, ultimately also our products. And I was very pleased, for example, I will have the EU ASEAN, the 10 countries of Southeast Asia, transport dialogue in a few weeks' time, and they actually were the ones who wanted also to spend more time talking about the future cooperation in rail, for example. In particular, for example, Thailand is interested. We know that there was this big project of Singapore, Kuala Lumpur high speed, which is currently being put on ice, but I'm sure that it will come back, and the European companies were very active there. So my point is that we need to be also globally present, be it in all of those markets where we actually can compete, and markets where, what I mean by can compete is that there are fair and open processes and procedures for the public procurement. It is much more difficult when you have to compete with those who come with unfair packages. And of course, it is very difficult to deal with that. And that also means that we need to protect our own industry as well. And we need to protect our industry also from, I would say, hostile takeovers. And I think that it is very good that we also have now the whole investment screening in place, which also allows us to see whether these investments are really made for commercial purposes or whether these investments carry a different kind of, perhaps a politically motivated interest. And there, of course, Europe has to step in as well and to say, look, this is not necessarily in the interest of the Europe. So more, I would say that I'm very proud of our rail industry, very proud of our rail manufacturing. It is the best in the world. But we constantly need to make sure that it stays there, not because it wouldn't be innovative, but because we also need to make sure that it has the level playing field with the others.
Yeah, I can see that Umberto is back. Umberto, we are going to try this once again. Hi, Umberto.
Hello?
Yeah, now we can hear you. Great. Could you follow the discussion till now?
I was going back, I think you progressed with the discussion. I want to go back a bit about the urban rail and the presence of urban rail and in the program in the Shift2Rail. Has been mentioned before also by Carlo. It's one of the elements of the rail system. In globality that for different reasons that we have been in the first release of the Shift2Rail, and as if I can see a sort of a different nature of reflect maybe what is the mainline business, even if it brings something like 30 billion passengers per year. So when we go to the urban, we have a lot of complexity for what concerns integration. So we have to consider, on one side, maybe the integration in the old urban rail system, which is more interfaced with the mainline system. But we have to consider the tight integration in the whole urban mobility scenario. We have several systems in the cities, and we cannot imagine to have one system independent from the other. This is the one dimension of complexity when we go to face and to let's say to consider it in an urban scenario, and that's where urban rail plays really a key role. There was a statement that said in the past from one of my colleagues that in the city you cannot have a mass, you cannot have a new mobility system, you cannot have a mass without mass transit. And this is clear if you see in Paris today, with the metro working not at full capacity, the level of traffic jam behind the bikes in the delivery, it's enormous. So what we need is really to see more inclusion in the next partnership. We see that a lot has been done together in defining the priorities, in defining the program and so on. We need also now to see how the stakeholders of urban rail are also included in the processes, are included in the partnership. Thinking mechanisms that consider, let's say, also the limitation that a rail operator in particular has when we go on finance, when we go on financial capability to funding.
Okay, thank you very much. I understand that we need more inclusion in the next partnership. Carlo, but I can see also that there are some people who are asking questions. 3 thumbs up for how can we use IYR to attract new tech and people to sector. Open standards, simplifying the procedure and removing barriers to entry. That is obvious. How can we do that?
Well, I think what Eric, you said about the European Year of Rail is an opportunity to make the rail much more near to the people. I think this will be a great occasion. And I think what Umberto just said about being sure that we have the correct interfaces with the rail main community, it will be an essential component of it. One other question I see there that is, we have a lot of ambition. I heard a lot of things to be achieved. But there are 2 main factors here. One, we have an economy that is suffering enormously. And I think your members, Libor, are partially paying the cost of it, as well as the supplier industry. And this is really clearly something that has an impact. On the other side, we know that there is a lot of pressure on the budget of the union, including of the next program. How we match all this? how we are capable to deliver under such a pressure, because if I would be a CEO of a company, I would have to decide, do I put my people in research and innovation or I put my people in production or running operations.
Okay,
And
clear
this can be a
question.
major trade-off.
How do you look at it? How can you match those two worlds?
Okay. Now I have to say that we really have to bring together, three actors on the triangle. It's the states, the governments, it's the financing institutions, the banks, and it's the industry. And I mean industry in the broader sense, so not production only, but also the operating industry or operating community. Why I'm saying so? Because I don't think that we are short of the financial resources in Europe or globally. I mean, it's not the case. So what we can and should do, in spite of the crisis, or I would even say thanks to the crisis, we should now use the opportunity to invest through the crisis, both for the hard infrastructure as well as to the research and innovation. So use the reserves that we have, the financial reserves, of course, for which we will have to have a decision of the governments, where the operators and the industry can play an essential role of orienting those investments, as I said, for both hard infrastructure as well as the research and innovation. So for me, this is the opportunity where we should bring ourselves into the situation of increasing the budget, in fact, for the innovative technologies and the development. And rather than what, Carlo, you may have the feeling that the companies are restricting. Of course, they have to reduce the budget, but still, if we create the right links with the possible loans for the future development and the research, we have this opportunity, which is really the golden one now.
Sure, you can reposition also
exactly,
the budgets.
Yeah, that's it. So we are not short of money in Europe, right?
No. This was exactly President Michel yesterday was at the Parliament, and he said that the Parliament, I think, was an hearing about the MFF and Brexit, and he said to the member of the Parliament, we have 1.8 trillion euros. Why everyone says that we don't have the funding. But at the same time, there is a lot of pressure, especially in Horizon Europe, on CEF, on other programs. Which is your views about this? How you think this situation will evolve? Because now we are really at 2 months from the next year. It's almost here.
Yes, but that's typical Europe. You negotiate until the last moment so that you can keep up the excitement, and in the end you
It's
will...
doing good politics.
Yes, in the end you usually come to a conclusion, so I am optimistic that, of course, all this will be adopted in time so that we can start next year. But I think that, of course, we have now a unique opportunity when it comes to it. I mean, first of all, if we look at the current programs like CEF or Horizon, then they continue. And yes, I mean, there will be also quite a lot of money available. And as we know, Shift2Rail gets the lion's share. And,
we don't hear your mic, I think. There's a
people here in the...
There's a problem with the mic, but we can... Yeah, it's okay. I'm sorry.
Don't move.
Don't move and just talk.
I don't know what kind of curse we have upon us today that we have so many technical challenges, but okay, that's the way it is. What I was just saying is that rail gets the lion's share of the Connecting Europe facility and continues to do so in the future as well. In the Horizon, Shift2Rail 2 will be part of the future solutions, but it's also very important to find synergies with the other projects. Now, clearly, the member states have to also do their share. I mean, I'm happy to see that the industry is doing their share. The Commission has a lot of seed money and beyond that. And for that, and as I say, there is also new opportunities. We have now the Recovery Fund. We have this totally new thing, which is focusing on the next few years to come, where basically the front loading is the key, and where you have to have many projects. The idea is also to advance the goals of the European Green Deal. So again, rail qualifies extremely well as part of the infrastructure investments that are done also through the Recovery Fund. For that, the member states have to come up with the national reform plans. For that, the member states have to prioritize also these activities. We have given our input from the Commission side, including related to what we expect in transport. We also understand that, at least in most cases, the member states would have significant amount of money set aside for the infrastructure investments. But the idea is that they would not just get some old projects taken out from the drawer, then wiped off the dust, and then put there, which is actually yesterday.
Yes.
But it also has to be some new future-oriented products. When we talk about infrastructure, we need to talk about the smart and sustainable and resilient infrastructure, not just infrastructure like such.
Can you put some pressure on the nation-states? Because you're talking about the nation-states, very important. I heard from Libor, yeah, but the European Commission could point out a direction as well. So how can you do that?
Of course, I mean, and in this case also, when it comes to the finalization of the reform programs, there is the consultation with the Commission as well, and surely there will be also pressure put on. But in the end, they need to want it.
Of course.
They need to be there to understand that it is good for them as well. And I think that what we have also delivered ourselves as tools, for example, for investments in rail, that this should also be seen that that's what the Commission also prioritizes. And what's also very important is it will be unacceptable if these projects are only looking at, nationwide.
Small level.
You need to have interoperability, you need to have cross-border, you need to focus on the missing links and bottlenecks. That is where you should also be putting the money, and that's what also the Commission trying to say, because the pan-European approach is missing in many areas, and also there where you do the investments, and that is why we need the European tools and facilities.
It comes to the point that we need all the stakeholders around the table. I see that Juan is back with us. Juan, do you hear us? Can we have a try to do this again? No, I don't think we can hear you. Can you try to speak up a little? Just try to...
Hello? I can
yes,
hear you.
we can hear you.
Good.
Hi, Juan.
Juan, maybe I have a question for you, because we had a conversation on the telephone a few months ago, and you told me all the benefit that SAIT had from Shift2Rail, and well, I cannot mention how many benefits we have from SAIT in Shift2Rail, but maybe you can share with us your experience of working in Shift2Rail.
Yeah, well, let me first introduce. SAIT is a research center at the University of Navarra. We started participating in Shift2Rail 5 years ago with LR, a strong relationship with German partner. And during this time, from the academy or from the research point of view, we have delivered important technology, for example, in the area of localization, companies in the railway market, but also scientific contribution, conference papers. And we have created also a company in the area of digitalization of railway infrastructure maintenance.
Okay, I can see Carlo.
For us, we make a strong figure, and we could say that the return on investment in our case is more than 100%. We are really happy with the Shift2Rail 1.
Thank you.
Carlo, I can see there is another question from the audience. How does the pandemic play a role in the Shift2Rail's plans? Will there be any adjustments besides funding and timeline? That's a question for you, I think.
Yes, this is the case. I would say that the impact at the moment of the pandemic on the ongoing projects is contained, or it was contained up to the next, the situation we are living currently, in the sense that we had some demonstration were postponed, but I have to say that thank you to the operating community and the connection with the member states. We had some derogation to continue to run demonstration activities, and we hope that if InnoTrans 2021 will take place in April, to be there to demonstrate the results we have achieved. It clearly is, we have been able to progress a lot on all the parts that is the digital part, because it can be done remotely up to a certain extent, as we experience. But clearly, when we talk about assets moving on network, it has impact. But it also shows that it allows us to rethink the model. So we talk about the next generation of young talent to come in, but also things that is going on at the moment is that we have a full generation of rail staff going to retirement in this decade, that we need to find a way to first to acquire the knowledge they have, because rail is fundamentally in this knowledge, and also second, to ensure that we have the correct processes to have this migration plan. And I think many companies, I think a member of CR are working from this point of view.
This is it. Yeah, this is it.
Yeah, okay. I see a next question. The European Union is quite dependent from import and from goods transported by sea. So how rail can efficiently support the demand? Also, what about one-day delivery model? That's a very difficult one. Perhaps, Henri, I come to you.
Well, that's true. I mean, the maritime transport will remain as the main transport mode for the exports and imports in and out to the European Union. I mean, that is natural, and that is not going to change in my lifetime. At the same time, I think what I said earlier also applies here, which is the multimodality and the better interaction with the different transport modes. I mean, also, even today, the things are very clear. When you bring the containers to the European ports, then rail is very often playing a key role to get it out of the ports. But of course, for the last mile, then it all has to be done by other transport modes, and also by through the multimodality. And I guess that there you can also have more solutions, and also more sustainable solutions. Okay. I mean, basically the freight is also, or has to move towards a zero carbon outcome, okay. Which will take some time. But concerning one-day deliveries, I mean, we all know that there is not enough flexibility yet built in also in the rail system, and the fact also that freight is usually deprioritized compared to the passenger transport makes it sometimes also more difficult to deliver things in one day. I guess that this has to be part of all the topics we look at. But it will be possible in the future. It's one of the topics that we should deal with. Yes, definitely. But I think that we should aim for that. I mean, clearly, more flexibility, more predictability and reliability, and better integration with other modes, I think, are the key elements here. Okay, Carlo, I think we should move, for timekeeping's sake, we should move to the last statement of everybody. So the last statement we start.
Libor, maybe.
Libor.
Okay. European Year of Rail, one sentence, which are expectations?
May I? Two.
Absolutely.
I mean, because I first have to react to what Henrik said about, the flexibility, reliability. But I would add, if you would wish, for example, to provide a better freight services, it's also capacity and automation. So it's investing into the infrastructure, but also to the research. So if I have, the expectation now from the Year of Rail, or even before we reach the Year of Rail, it's really boosting the budget for the research and innovation. I mean, Henri said so already. Can we have 1.5 billion for the future joint undertaking? That would be, the ball back to your turf.
And you like to hear that, Carlo.
That would be something. And from the Year of Rail, that we have said already, I would say the communication towards the broader public. Yes. The rail year is for you, and it is the zero. If we talk about the road as a future zero-emission mobility, rail is the zero-emission mobility today. Yeah,
that's the solution. Yes. Okay, thank you very much. Henrik?
One sentence. Let's use the European Year of Rail to make rail cool again.
To make rail cool again, it's great. Perhaps we could go back. Are there some of the panelists still there? Juan, are you there for the last statement? I don't think we can reach Juan.
I think we can go
Perhaps
on.
You could give the last statement as well, because...
Well, my last statement would be to thank all of you for your participation. Thank you for the request of 1.5 billion euros. I know that we have a lot to do. I think we have a major expectation. I think we can make rail cool again. I totally agree. This is really simple like this we should have. And also what we will be discussing now, I think, will be an opportunity for this.
Okay, good.
Can we have it, in this, I would say, in the promotion materials of the Commission, for the Year of Rail?
Everything is coming back to you, Henrik. I can see that. Okay, thanks to all of you. Thanks our panel for their inspiring contributions. I hope we can welcome them next year for all what is said today to challenge that one. But Carlo, we aren't quite finished yet, are we? We have the honor to launch something else very important, and that's a brand new prize. That is to say, the Unique Train Prize, ladies and gentlemen. And Carlo, you know all about it. What's this new prize, the Unique Train Prize?
So thank you very much. So we have, for the first time, we launch a prize, is to define the unique train ID. It's something going on for many years, and we try to find a way to have innovative solution, breakthrough solution that would allow to track commercial freight trains from railway undertakings covering the full European network, and provide all real-time information about train, information on location, departure, destination, and punctuality.
Why such a prize? Did the sector need it?
Yes, it's something that is remaining still an open point to be solved. There are legislation under preparation, and we thought that maybe trying to challenge the sector, but not only, everyone can participate. Any type of.
I could
you can try.
As
yes,
well.
you can try.
You should laugh. I have brilliant ideas.
It's a breakthrough ideas that we need to think about how we find out a solution to have this to reach this target. The prize is open now, so you can go online now on our website and you can see the link and you start the submission. Deadline 21st September 2021.
2021, so you have like almost a year to apply. It's really out of the box, and I heard there's also a serious budget involved.
Yes, we have decided together with the governing board to invest €500,000, 400,000 to the first and 100,000 to the second runner. So it is a specific process, so it's not a typical call for proposal. We expect in 1 year to have a solution that we can go to see with a panel of experts. So
it's a great manner to deal with it, to get innovative ideas from out of the box. Really great. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure that you will agree that this is a great prize, so I hope it will generate a lot of breakthrough ideas, as Carlo said. Carlo, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, now we take a coffee break to stretch our legs, and we'll see each other back at 11:15. Thank you very much. See you later.